The library of the Unspoken Word was not on any map. It couldn't be. It existed in the shadow of the visible city, a brutalist monument of concrete and silence that seemed to absorb sound. I was Elara Vance, its newest and only archivist. My job, as outlined in a sparse, unsigned contract I probably shouldn't have accepted, was to catalog the non-written media. That was a fancy way of saying tapes. Thousands of them. Cassettes, micro-reels, open spools all unlabeled. Stacked floor to ceiling in sublevel 3, a place that smelled perpetually of ozone and old dust. The first 6 weeks were an exercise in monotony. The low hum of the ancient tape deck, the scratch of my pen logging the time and duration of each recording. Most were just static. Some held garbled radio chatter, fragments of conversations lost to time. Others were just long, lonely stretches of wind howling into a microphone. It was tedious, but it was a job. Then, I found tape 417 gamma. It started with a high-frequency whine, so painful and piercing I almost ripped the headphones off. I winced, ready to log it as corrupted data, when a voice cut through the noise. It was crystal clear, unnervingly close to the mic, and utterly devoid of any human inflection. Recording the departure. Subject, Andrew Miles. Time, 3 o'clock hours. There was a long, sickening pause that stretched for an eternity. Then, a sound I can only describe as wet leather being dragged across stone, followed by a series of low, desperate whimpers. Then, abruptly, the tape cut out. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. I checked my log. Andrew Miles. The name rang a faint bell. I pulled out my personal tablet and did a quick search. Andrew Miles, a local man. He'd been reported missing since April. My skin prickled. I tried to shrug it off. It had to be a prank. Some morbid sound artist's project. This library was ancient. Maybe it was a repository for old police evidence or journalistic outtakes that never aired. There had to be a logical explanation. But the tapes didn't stop. They got worse. The very next day, I cataloged tape 802 Delta. The same cold, detached voice began the recording. Recording the departure. Subject, Sarah Chen. Time, 1945 hours. This time, the audio was different. It started with the sharp, explosive sound of shattering glass. That was followed by a rhythmic, high-pitched scratching, like nails on a chalkboard, that went on for 7 solid minutes, without a break. It was agonizing to listen to. And I knew Sarah Chen. Everyone did. She was the friendly gray-haired woman who ran the coffee cart just outside the bus station. The one who always had a smile and remembered your order. She'd been missing since last Tuesday. A terrible, precise dread began to crystallize in my mind. This wasn't a collection of pranks. These were records. And that cold voice, the one that called itself the Archivist, wasn't documenting a person leaving a place. It was documenting their permanent erasure from existence. My task shifted. I stopped logging durations and started cross-referencing public disappearance records. The pattern was undeniable, and it was horrifying. Thomas Reed, missing since June. His tape was accompanied by the sound of heavy, deliberate chewing. The Miller family? The parents and 2 young kids who vanished in October. Their tape was marked by a chillingly clear recording of children's laughter, which slowly, unnaturally, descended in pitch until it became a subterranean groan that vibrated through the floor. That's when I finally understood what I was holding. I wasn't an archivist. I was tending to a tomb of sound. Each tape was the last echo of a person's life, captured at the exact moment some unseen mechanisms, some entity of absolute, final silence claimed them. My hands started to shake as I reached for the next box of tapes. I noticed they were getting newer. The names were more recent. The disappearances were closer to home. I pulled out tape 999 Zeta. It felt different. The label, unlike the others, was freshly scrawled in black marker. This wasn't part of the library's old collection. This tape had been left in the box. For me, with trembling fingers, I slid the cassette into the deck. My own breathing was deafening in the absolute stillness of Sublevel 3. I pressed play. The voice was immediate. But it wasn't the usual monotone. This voice was rich, deep, and laced with a terrifying, almost playful curiosity. ... Recording the preparation. Subject, Elara Vance. Time now. I froze. My blood turned to ice. I scrambled to press stop, to eject the tape, but my fumbling hand only slammed the play button harder, jamming it in place. The voice continued, seeming to relish every word. The archivist enjoys the sounds of the living. The little sounds, the click of the keyboard, the scratch of the pen. But the final sound. Ah, that is the true art. The air in the small archive room grew heavy and cold, thick with a metallic taste. I could see my own breath fogging in front of me. Then, a new sound came over the speakers. It was unlike any I had heard before. It was the noise of something vast and ancient, shifting its bulk just outside the door. Something immensely heavy that had just learned how to walk. The floor tiles vibrated beneath my feet. The fluorescent bulbs overhead flickered violently, plunging the room into strobing flashes of light and shadow. The voice returned, but it was no longer in the speakers. It was a terrifying whisper, coming from the air, directly behind my ear. And now, Elara, the grand crescendo. We record your departure, and you will record your own last echo, I screamed. A high, desperate, animal sound I didn't recognize as my own. As the heavy steel door to the archive room began to buckle inward, the metal groaning under an impossible weight. I don't know what happened next. If I died, or went mad, or was simply removed. The next morning, the janitorial team, who were paid handsomely to ask no questions, found tape 1000 Alpha on the floor of the empty archive room. It contained a single, clear, high-pitched scream, which was cut short by the sound of something being violently dragged away across the concrete. After that, there was only pure, clean silence. And the very last sound on the tape. A faint, mechanical click. The distinct sound of a record button being released.